Hey guys, Marisa at kitchentablestamper.com. Got a cute little treat box for you today. Have you seen these? Hostess pumpkin spice Twinkies are popping up all over the place. I put a bundle of pumpkin spice Twinkies and Hostess iced pumpkin cupcakes in the description for you from Amazon, but you might be able to find them here or there. They're at my grocery store, and I think I got mine at Menards. We're going to make a treat box for that Twinkie. Of course, the fun part about this is that Twinkie is easy to find in all kinds of different fun varieties, and this box could come in really handy to give a sweet little treat. All right, so this is the Changing Leaves bundle, and the first thing I want to do is show you a quick tip on how to use the bundle, the hybrid embossing folder, and the stamps together to make a bunch of leaves. And this is how I design. I make a bunch of stuff, and then as I'm working on my projects, I can pick through and find the pieces that I want to use on my project. So I like to make a bunch of leaves all at once. What I did for that is made a template for my stamp positioner, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So what I'm going to do is show you really quick how to use the Changing Leaves bundle. It's a hybrid embossing folder, stamps and dies that all coordinate to make a bunch of leaves for your projects all at once. First thing I did was create a template that's 5.5 by 6, and it's just some cardstock. Actually, it was one that I had in the garage that was I don't know how long it had been there. It's got a kind of a linen texture on it, and it's now my new template paper. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy. I would suggest it be cardstock though, maybe a retired color, something like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to pop this piece into the folder with the 5.5 inch across the top, and I want to make sure that everything's gonna fit in our little template. All right, I think I like that placement because we're going to use this piece that we're about to cut and emboss right now as a positioner for our stamps. That way we can stamp all 3 images at one time using our positioner, and then die cut and emboss all 3 of these images at one time. So we got a hybrid embossing folder. We're gonna use 1 and 4, give it a crank, and now we have our template. Now if you want to, whatever you cut this out of in the first place, you're gonna get a set of embossed and die cut leaves. Isn't that texture cool? Set those aside. You might use them on a project. Not this one though. And then take this piece right here, and we're going to use that as our stamp positioner. So let's set this aside. We'll need this again in a minute after we stamp our leaves. Got my Stamparatus, and you can use whatever stamp positioner you have. This will work. You want to pop your template into your stamp positioner, and then you'll take your stamps and lay them face down into the open spaces. Get them nice and centered. Make sure that that corner is tight in the upper left. And then once you've got all your stamps laying in the empty spaces, and you can see that they're centered, last one, then you're going to close the lid and pick up the stamps. So it won't hurt one bit here if you just take a little extra time, because every time you stamp this now, it's going to stamp in that position, and you want it to be centered. Now I'm just going to pop my magnets here to hold this in place while I pick up the stamps. Oh, I dragged that one a little bit. No big deal. Just shift it back. Okay, close the lid and lift up the pieces Now they're going to stamp in perfect position every time for you to get 3 leaves out of every pass. If you don't want to do all 3, that's okay too. Just put your stamp on a block, stamp on a scrap, and then use the hybrid embossing folder or the dies alone to just cut out 1 leaf. You definitely have flexibility here. Now for our demonstration, we're going to use some Cajun Craze cardstock, and we've got this so that that 5.5-inch side is across the top, just like our template, right? And we're going to add our magnets, keeping away from the stamps. Just make sure, adjust accordingly. Don't put the magnets too close to each other though. All right, now we're going to ink up our stamp with Cajun Craze. And a stamp positioner is absolutely not necessary, but if you're like me and you want to make a couple of sheets worth of Cajun Craze leaves and then clean it and make a couple of sheets worth of early espresso leaves and then clean it and make a couple of sheets worth of old olive leaves and then put them maybe in a bag inside the stamp case, you'll always have leaves when you pull out this stamp set to just start getting creative with right away. All right, so we've got our Cajun Craze on Cajun Craze, and lift. So we've stamped all 3 images at one time. Get a little more pressure on that guy right there. Not bad. Now we can take this to our hybrid embossing folder and we can texture and cut out all 3 Cajun Craze leaves at one time. So bring back in the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine and bring out the Cajun Craze ink. All right, when you line this up, you will pop that die back into the folder. There's only one way that die goes. And when you find it, it's going to just seat itself right in there. Then you're going to take that folder and you're going to look through and line up the image right through the embossing folder. And it will line up the way that Stampin' Up! Dies always line up. The stamped edge of the image will be pretty much right up against the metal edge of the die. And so take your time, find your landmarks on each of the images and line it up. All right, I got it. I think that looks pretty good. And we'll pop that right in between 1 and 4 and give it a crank. And what you'll find here now is you've got 3 stamped leaves that are also die cut. Look at the great stamped and embossed texture on that. But you also have this remaining sheet, and you can cut out from the remaining sheet some of the other shapes and sizes of leaves. Let me show you that. So you could cut out, say, this one right here. Just fussy cut that little guy out. You could cut out this one right here. See, just fussy cut that guy out. And that's the nice part about this big scrap, is you'll get a couple more embossed leaves out of it before it's all said and done. And after a few passes through the machine, you'll have lots of bits that you can mix and match for designing your projects. All right, let's get on to our box now. I love this Twinkie box. You want to have 2 pieces of cardstock, one for the lid and one for the base of the box. And they are going to be 1/16 of an inch different in size. So you'll want to keep them carefully. I love having my template. There's a printable picture of this in the project sheet at kitchentablestamper.com. The bottom is 4 7/16 by 6 15/16. So I've got pecan pie, that size. Now it's easy to mix these two up because there's only a 1/16 of an inch difference. So I will just keep that one with that piece of the template. The outside of the box, the lid of the box is 1/16 of an inch bigger. So 4.5 by 7. And the nice part about doing the 1/16 of an inch in the cutting, it means that you don't have to score around the lid of the box 1/16 of an inch different than the bottom. You just did it in the cutting and you don't have to do the mathing in the scoring. So let's grab our Simply Score tool and our template, and we're going to score all around at 1¼ inch on both pieces. Bottom of the box, 1¼ 4 times around. And set that aside. The lid of the box, 1¼ inch, 4 times around. And we'll set that aside. Now let's go turn our attention to the lid of the box because, oh, it's the wrong one. Let's turn our attention to the lid of the box because on the lid of the box, you're going to mark 3½ inches or center on each of the long sides. Now, because I, again, made my template and I stored in a little binder, I can go back to make this box anytime I want, and I've got my template. I'm just going to use my template to find that 3½ inch mark. You can grab a ruler or a centering ruler, but you want to mark 3½ on each of the long sides. All right, once you've marked 3½ on each of the long sides, let's go ahead and work the score lines with the bone folder and trim the top and the bottom of our box according to the template. All right, score lines are all burnished, and now we're going to trim. You're going to trim straight along the long rectangle and then angled along the square, and then cut a little angle. And that's what you're going to do with all these tabs. Always keeping the long rectangle nice and straight and trimming out the bulk, making a bevel edge on the square. All right, there's our template pieces, and the inside or the bottom of the box is ready. We can assemble that one with tear and tape adhesive. Just going to add adhesive on the tabs. Then we'll remove the liner from all of these guys. And we'll bring up the corners and make the bottom of the box. Nice and simple, perfect size for your Twinkie treats. And if you find what else fits, please share with us on the kitchen table Stamper Craft Social. All right, we can set that aside for now. And we're going to work on the top of the box now. I'm going to take a 1-inch circle punch, and we're going to cut the thumb notches. What I like to do is line up that little mark in the center, go about halfway. But if you're like me, I want both sides to be as the same as possible. So you can take this and a little bit of adhesive. I like to take just what's sticky from the tip of my glue bottle, or a little bit of glue. It's going to get cut away in just a second anyways. And we're going to glue it right over the other mark. Now when we slide this into the circle punch, we can see exactly where that other one, and these will be the same right to left because we marked center, and they'll be the same depth because we cut one and then used it to guide for the other one. I want to add some texture to the top of the box, so let's get the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine in the embossing folder again. All right, the box is too big to just run the embossing folder, but we have some score lines that we can use to divide. So we're going to put the entire box up to this last score line in the machine and emboss. then we'll flip the end that's not embossed, put it back in, just into that score line. And we'll run through the rest of our box and have a beautiful textured lid. There it is. Gorgeous texture on all sides of the lid. Let's assemble it the same way that we did the bottom, using tear and tape adhesive on the 4 square glue tabs. All right, corners up. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous with the leaf texture all around? There's our box, and how easy the lid goes on the box and is removed from the box is because of that 1/16 of an inch. See, it just slides so easily. And very easy way to do a lidded box is just to use that 1/16 of an inch at the cutting stage. All right, now we're gonna do our designer series paper. This is brand new. It is called the Sweet Days of Autumn Designer Series paper. This is brand new scrapbooking paper, available from Stampin'. There's a separate brochure, 2 new papers for the fall and for the fall season. This is 166498 if you're looking for it, and it includes, it's 12 by 12. This is a sample for my card club members. It includes 3 double-sided designs and 4 of each sheet. All right, there's also another new one really quick. Let me show you while I've got it here. This is Halloween Spells Designer Series paper. This is also from that scrapbooking brochure, and it is 166493. And it is 4 double-sided designs and 3 of each. So really fun for fall. Grab it from that scrapbooking brochure. Use the SKU number that I just gave you. And if you're a card club member and you paid September 5th for card club, you're going to receive a sample packet just like that, 1/4 of each pack with your card kit. All right, now we want to do a little texture on the edges. So you can grab your paper snips and just rub them along the edge of the paper, which will give a kind of a rustic design. When I get to the corners, I like to curl it a little bit as I go all around the paper like that. Okay, there's my distressed edges. Now I'm going to ink the edges too. I've got some pecan pie ink and a blending brush, and I'm just going to add a little bit of ink to cover that white edge all the way around. All right, pecan pie ink is out. Let's adhere that designer series paper to the lid of the box. I'm just going to use some liquid glue, and when I do it, I'm going to let the corners roll just a little bit. So I'm going to keep the adhesive away from the corners. As you can see, we're using the A side and the B side on our samples here, and you can tell me which one you like better. Do you like the trees on the A side, or do you like the grid on the B side? I'm just gonna burnish that down, but I'm gonna roll these corners just a little bit, just gently, not too much. All right, let's take a look at our ribbon next. I'm using the sheer ribbon. This is white and silver sheer ribbon, but you're probably saying, wait a second, that's pink. It's 1/2 inch ribbon, and we're going to cut it down to 1/4 inch ribbon and make it pink. So let's do that. I've got my scratch paper over here. Just anything that you don't care too much about. You're going to put your ribbon on there, 1/2 inch ribbon, and grab your Stampin' Blends markers. I've got dark petal pink. Nice part about this ribbon is you can do this with any color Stampin' Blends you have. So Card Club members, my September 5th Card Club members, you are going to get a full spool of this ribbon. So it's white with silver edges, but you can color it any color you want. After you're done with your projects, the sky's the limit. Then you're going to take your scissors and that 1/2 inch ribbon, you're going to just cut it right down the middle in half. Once you've cut it down the middle in half, then you're going to stack it, and then you're going to loop, swoop, tuck, and pull, make a bow. Mine is not perfect because you have to let that dry. Then by the magic of television, I have a nice dry one right here. Let's get some Cajun Craze ink and Stampin' Pierce matte because we are going to stamp our sentiment for the tag. The tag is just one of the 3 different sentiment dies that come in this Changing Leaves bundle. The Changing Leaves bundle was due to arrive back in stock this week, the week of September 9th. By the time you're watching this, it'll be September 13th. But has been pushed off to the end of September. So if you're looking for this, give it a little more time. It's coming back. But this is the circle that we're using today. It's got this like long pill shape and short pill shape label also. They're nice labels. I don't have anything in my collection that are that shape. So a little bonus when you're buying leaves again. You know, everybody who's been stamping for a while has a lot of leaves. But these are extra special. And I think that those little pill shape sentiments were really one of the things that was a thoughtful touch from Stampin' Up. All right, I could not have done it without you, or I couldn't have done it without you. I'm going to stamp that with Cajun Craze on the basic white circle, and then grab a couple more die cuts I want to show you. So you saw how we did the Cajun Craze on Cajun Craze leaves. And here is petal pink on petal pink, one of the other shapes. Here is from Old Olive, and this is actually that piece that I had showed you that would be perfect for fussy cutting. So that's this leaf right here. So we fussy cut one of those out of Old Olive. And then there's a little leaf in the set that does this 3-leaf sprig. So that's my die cutting. Early Espresso, Cajun Craze, Old Olive, Petal Pink. I'm going to arrange those on my box front. And how I like to do this is grab my layers and work from the bottom to the top. And all I'm doing is adding a little glue on the stem. That's it. Because then I have room to twist and shout, rearrange things a little bit, lift, tuck. The glue doesn't dry too fast. It does grab, which is nice, but it doesn't dry too fast, so you can have a little wiggle room. And once you've got that, you can set that aside for just a second to let it grab. And we're gonna get some glue dots. I've got one for the back of my ribbon, and then one that I'm going to fold over. So it's rolled in half for the stem of my sprig. Add the bow, whoops, add the sprig, and then for a little bit of extra security, because it's just kind of stuck there with a glue dot by the sprig, and for a little bit of texture too, I'm gonna grab a mini stapler. I've got the tiny attacher. You could use one swing line staple here if you wanted to. Just a standard size staple. I'm going to do 2 of the little mini staples. And so there's our fun texture and and extra secure. Let's put some dimensionals on the back of there. And we're also going to tuck some dimensionals around the leaves on our project. Now, I like to do at least one spot with a dimensional. So I'm lifting from the back, moving toward the front, and adding a dimensional right in where I can tuck it and hide it. So the stems are down with liquid glue, and now the rest of the leaf is a little extra secure too. Let's remove the liner, the dimensionals for our tag, and bring these guys back in here. Oh, maybe we need to bring them in like that so it goes dark, light, dark. And we're going to add our tag a little bit right of center, and I'm going to put another dimensional, or maybe even two, depending on if I can hide them well, on this little sprig so that it's extra supported too. I don't want it tearing off. It would be sad. There we go. Couldn't have done it without you. Now let's get some bling. I've got the natural or neutral adhesive back sequins here. Got gold and copper. I'm going to use some more copper on this one. Add a little sparkle. This copper, this whole palette actually, it's got a kind of a pearly white, gold, copper, and an early espresso metallic sequin all included in this mix, and it really is perfect for those Sweet Days of Autumn designer series paper. Is that what that one's called again? All the new products all the time, I forget. Let's see. Yeah, Sweet Days of Autumn designer series paper. This is the perfect embellishment to go with that paper. Every one of them's a winner, I think. All right, you guys, there it is, our Changing Leaves Twinkie box. I hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any questions, you can email staycrafty@kitchentablestamper.com. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.